Good day. Welcome to Monday Re Tsene with Pretoria Psychologists. My name is Magamela. I'm the specialist wellness counselor. Today we will be talking about the effective communication in relationships. I've been just thinking about, communication of what it entails. And we do know that every relationship, for it to work, it needs communication, and we cannot go further in getting to know one another or living amongst each other without a proper communication. So I will just be, we'll just be deliberate on this one today. So we also know that as I've mentioned, that relationships do require communication for them to work. And also, again, healthy relationships are not automatic. We don't just wake up and everything works well together. You can't just wake up and you suddenly, you are getting used to this person and you are good together. So it's not like that. So it's not automatic. So when we are talking about effective relationships, it is important to take note of when we are communicating and becoming better. And also, again, effective relationship involves us, our own mental health, being intact, because sometimes when we don't communicate well, it affects our mental health. And when your mental health is affected, you are not able to communicate effectively. And you might even be holding on to, negative energy, holding on to the things that are making you bitter. But when we are communicating well, we are able to, to understand each other, So when we are talking about that we mean that we listen to understand, when our relationships are good, when our social cycle is okay, our friends are okay, our relationships with families are okay, even our colleagues, we listen to understand. And when we listen to understand, we are basically saying that whenever you communicate, I'm not listening because I want to respond, but I am listening because I want to understand what exactly are you trying to communicate with me. And it actually because it's another thing to communicate, but it's another thing again to comprehend, because I might communicate with you, but you might not even understand what I'm trying to say. So comprehension is another component in as far as communication it is concerned. And also, again, for us to build a healthy relationship, it involves empathy and respect. When we are talking about empathy, we are talking about the ability to put yourself in somebody's shoes, being able to understand where they are, being able to just, process the things that they might be going through at that moment. Sometimes our relationships end up not going well because we don't want to put ourselves in their shoes. We don't want to find ourselves in a situation whereby, we are able to listen without judgment. We are able to be there without making it about ourselves. So basically, empathy, we are saying that I am listening to you. I'm not making what you're going through about myself, So it also involves respect. When you're talking about respect, it's just the ability to acknowledge someone, acknowledging someone, it is despite of their status, despite of their race, despite of their gender, just being able, to just respect everyone, no matter where they come from, their background, where they come from. You are able to actually, put them at that state of human beings as they are, because we are social beings and we relate differently, and respect has to be, a commodity or rather a trait that we should convey in all our social, our social activities, in how we also relate to each other as people. And then when we are also talking about communication, we are also talking about awareness of our body language. When we are talking about the awareness of our body language, sometimes when we communicate, we may say something different. We may say something, but our bodies may tell us something different. So when we are communicating better, we actually become aware of our own body language, because body language can tell a lot, because that's nonverbal communication. It's something that I am not saying verbally with my mouth, but the actions are saying different. So when we are communicating, it is important for us to take note of our body language. In addition to that, we could also look at, even the tone, sometimes, because we are aware that we are a generation of technology. When we are on WhatsApp, the way we communicate to other people, either it can show that we don't have any interest, or it can show that our tone can say that, I don't care, So when we communicate, even on our socials, we can pick up the tone. We can pick up the tone, that this tone sounds frustrated. This tone sounds disrespect. This tone sounds like this person is excited. So we should become aware of non-verbal communication most of the time, because most of the time it is our non-verbal, it is the one that comes out stronger than the things that we are saying with our mouth. And then when we are also talking about communication, we do talk about boundaries. Boundaries, actually, we are just talking about being able to put, a certain measure, around you, protecting your mental health, protecting you. But sometimes it's not even also about protecting, but it's just to have effective, communication and being able to relate with other people, because we are different. And in as much as we are different, we still need to know what is working for us, so that we may not, step on each other's toes. So it is important for us to have boundaries. But when we are establishing boundaries with our significant others, I would just like us to also be aware of how we are communicating our boundaries. When we are communicating our boundaries, we might end up hitting another person, not unnecessary, but unintentionally, because sometimes when we communicate, we might think that the other person understands us. So it is important that when we communicate our boundaries, we communicate with grace. We communicate that I don't like this and that. For example, you might say that I don't appreciate that you call me at 8 o'clock because I will be sleeping, or I will be busy with 1, 2, 3, and 4. Or you might even say that I don't like the way you're talking to me like this. It makes me feel this way. So it is important to actually communicate how that makes you feel. So you are actually putting a boundaries that this person, when they communicate like this, when they yell, when they scream at you, and then when you tell them that this is what makes me feel, they're able to get it because you've established that boundary. So there is nothing wrong with establishing boundaries, but we need to know how do we, communicate such boundaries. And then also, again, effective communication, it's also becoming aware of our own unrealistic expectations. In relationships, it's also easy for us to have, expectation. I expect 1, 2, 3, just a list of expectations, but it should be mutually, expectations. It should be the expectations that we have all agreed on. It shouldn't be expectations that are on, one person, but it should be expectations that all of us, we do agree on, so that when we communicate on when we expect that communication, that expectation, the other person should not feel like they were coerced in those expectations. And it's also important to become aware of our own prejudices, becoming aware of our own biases. We do know that we are not comfortable with certain race. We do know that we are not comfortable with certain dress code, certain genders. But when we communicate, because as I've said that we are diverse, we are different, and we can never be the same. So it is important for us to become aware of that even when we communicate, communicate, you actually look at yourself, you introspect that, is it really about me right now? And that itself would actually going to help you to actually know that, you know what, at this point in time, it's not about me. At this point in time, that it's not about, you know, the fact that this person is coming from this ethnicity, or this person it's black or white. You know, you do understand what I'm trying to say. So we need to become aware of that. And, you know, lastly, when we communicate better, we have healthy relationships. And then when we have healthy relationships, it means that we have a healthy society. And then we will be able to know that, okay, now this person is feeling this way, I should not communicate this further. And actual fact, then we become a nation where our mental health, it you know, becomes okay one step at a time, because we are able to communicate better. I hope that this episode, you have learned a lot, and I hope that it will mean a lot, and our relationship is also going to improve. I'm looking forward to another episode.